Hello there, this is Agri Talk right here on KTN Farmers TV, and today we are talking about animal feed safety. And with me is Dr. Joyce Thayer, who has worked in the Ministry of Agriculture for 35 years under the Directorate of Veterinary Services, and she's here to just explain to us about animal feeds. Just give us her insights so that you as a farmer may understand how you can give your animal better feeds. All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, now let's get right into it and look at food and feed. When you talk about animal food, animal feed, why can't we say animal food and we are saying animal feed?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's more, I believe it is more of semantics, one, and two, for understanding and differentiation. Because when we talk of food, the notion normally goes into human food that we eat. The animals, they still eat food, but for ease of understanding and for differentiation, we refer to animal feed and human food. Mm-hmm. But I do not think that it should be an issue that should be, it's not a scientific issue.
Ah, okay.
Take, yeah.
Thank you for giving us that answer. All right, now let's look at animal feed. When you talk about animal feed, what are we looking at in terms of the feed that animals usually take? What are some of the types of animal feeds that we have?
Animal feed, for one, is everything that an animal will eat.
Yes.
Here we are talking about, and let's maybe talk about the food producing animals, mm-hmm. because that is what normally the farmer will keep, that cow, that chicken, that mm-hmm. pig. Mm-hmm. So it is all the food that the animal eats. Here we are talking of from the grass, the fodder that is given, to if it is given any water, any concentrates, that is like the dairy meals and such kind of thing. And feed can be the pasture where it goes to feed out there, or feed that is brought into the stores where animal is, feed that is purchased from the shops because it is a processed feed, or a feed that is directly as nature has it and it's fed into the animal.
Mm-hmm. All right, and now animals feed, of course, it's also food. So can animals just eat the regular food that we eat, like ugali, kale that has been cooked? Because you usually see sometimes cows eating ugali that has been thrown. They are given. So can animals just eat the regular foods that we eat, especially the milk-producing animals?
Of course, the animals can eat all that what we eat. If you really look at it, mm-hmm. we are animals.
Yes.
So animals can eat that, but then when you're feeding the animal, particularly for a farmer, you're feeding the animal for production, you're feeding the animal as a business. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at the business side of it. You have to look at the cost benefit mm-hmm. of the feed you are eating. If you think of cooking ugali for the animal, what is the cost of that and the cost of the product that you're expecting from the animal? Does it make economic sense? And also, different types of animals are created differently.
Yes.
And because of these, there are some feeds that may affect animals differently. For example, a cat cannot eat grass. Even if it does, it will be affected because it is not created to digest mm-hmm. that kind of feed. So the feed that animal eat, depending on the way that animal is, its digestive system, the way it is created. So different animals will feed on different feed resources, depending on the species of the animal. Also, you look at the age of the animal. You cannot give a newborn calf dry hay, for example. It will have an impact. So the age of the animal will also impact on the type of food that is eaten. To the farmer as a business, you also have to look at the production stage of that animal. If you're having an animal that is not milking and it is not pregnant, you may not give it the same kind of feed as you are giving a high-producing dairy animal, or a chicken that is laying. You may not feed it the same with that the chicken that is free range. So the feed will depend on a lot of those factors: the age, the species of the animal, the production stage of the animal. Yeah, so those are the factors that affect, and of course the cost benefit. You may want to feed a very expensive feed, but what are you expecting finally at the end of the animal? Will it give you back what you have invested?
All right, and now when you look at animal feed safety, why is it important?
Okay, one, animal feed safety, what does that mean? It means it is that assurance that that feed you give to the animal is not going to cause harm to the animal itself. It's also not going to cause harm to the consumer who will feed on the feed from that animal. For example, if it is milk. So what you feed the animal, the milk from that animal will be taken by a child or by a human being. So it's that assurance that the feed you give to the animal will not cause harm to the animal itself and to the human beings. Yeah, so essentially that is so. When you ask why is it important, one, like we said, whatever an animal eats, it's what it produces. So if an animal eats food that is not unsafe, it might translate to the milk or to the eggs or to that meat. So it has an impact on human health. Primarily also it has an impact on the animal itself. It may cause an animal to be sick, it may cause an animal not to grow well. Also, when you feed an animal, when the animal gets sick, for example, the cost to the farmer, the cost of maybe treatment of that animal, the cost of maybe it reduces milk production, so there is a loss to that. Also, then if you feed the animal feed that is not safe, and maybe the people you sell to, so there is a loss of market access to the product, to the animal, maybe the animal itself, or the product from that animal. So that is why it is important to have safe food and to assure your maybe customers that the feed is safe, because it has an impact on the product from that animal.
All right, and now let's look at animal feed safety and animal feed quality. What's the difference, or how are they interconnected? The quality and also animal feed quality and animal feed safety.
Okay. Animal feed quality is all those aspects of the feed that ensure that that feed has the correct nutritional components that that animal feeds, like we said, for its age, for its species, for its production level. So you want quality. If you're talking of the components like protein, like the energy, like minerals or vitamins in that product. And also, when you talk of safety, it's also an aspect of quality. Because we say that if it is not safe, then it's not food. Because you are giving somebody something to kill them. And we say the safety is that assurance that it will not cause harm. So if it is causing harm, then it's not feed. So safety is that aspect that it will not cause harm. Quality is that aspect that it will provide the animal with the necessary nutritional quality to help it to grow healthy and the way it's supposed to grow, and to produce the way it is supposed to produce.
And can you go to any field and just cut the grass and put it in a gunia and just and bring it to your animal, maybe for example your cow, to just consume, or are there specific types of grass that the cows usually take, or different livestock?
Okay, the animals can eat all grass, for sure. But there are things you want to look at when you are giving your animal that grass or that feed, whether you are cutting and bringing or it is feeding out in the pasture. One, as a plant grows, it has different nutritional qualities as it grows. So there is the optimal age of the different species of grass that it is best for that animal. And for many grasses, it is just after flowering when the seed is setting, just before the seed is, so for many grasses. But different types of grasses, or different, if it's not grasses like the other legumes, like maybe Rusan or such, there is an optimal age of that plant that has the optimal nutrition for the animal. Mm-hmm. And this one, our colleagues who have done animal nutrition, and particularly in government, the people in the directorate or departments of animal production can be able to educate farmers on the optimal time to feed that feed brought from the field to the animals. So there is that age. Two, where is this plant or material growing? Is it growing in soil that is contaminated? Because once you cut it, whatever contamination is in the soil is likely to be in the plant. Is it growing in a place where maybe there are chemicals which are important for the body, but maybe in quantities that may harm the animal or that are not enough? For example, let's say iron, which is important for the body. But if it is again too much, it may cause harm to the animal. Or it is too little, so it is not providing the actual amount of that particular nutrient that you need. Okay. Also, if you're having this plant you are cutting, let's say near a sewage, near a factory that is polluting, or near, let's say, a construction site where there are nails and small pieces of wire, which unfortunately animals like cattle may just take in, because the cattle feed, they first take in and then they start chewing cud. So they can take in, and this may cause harm to the animal. So when you are going to, if it is cutting that grass or whatever you are sourcing, you have to consider all this. The stage of growth for quality purposes, where it is grown, the types of soil, the type of other contamination that there is, and the type of other physical contaminations, like what you are saying. If you feed the animal, you are giving grass, and maybe there are poisonous plants together with that. So you're not just feeding the grass, you're also feeding the poisonous plants that may be there. Also, there is something else that may not necessarily be related to the safety of the feed, but if you are getting that your grass or hay from a place that has animal diseases, or like ticks, or other animal diseases like foot and mouth, you're likely to bring back with you the bacteria that are there, the pests that are within that area, the viruses that are within that area. So you transport together with your feed. So you find you have enclosed your animals, but you are bringing in disease through the type of feed that you are bringing in. Two, now maybe we were talking of the cat, whatever.
Grass.
Cut grass or not just grass, other fodders that you are bringing in.
Other fodders, yes.
Yeah, so you have to look at all these factors.
And so, therefore, what would you advise a farmer who, because very many people in the rural areas, they have a field where they usually go to cut the grass from. They know that is the place where they can get good grass for their cattle. So what would you advise a farmer to look at? Because you've said you need to look at the soil where they're growing at. What if they don't have these forms of looking at maybe the soil, looking at what is growing there? They just know that this grass is good for my cows. So what would you advise such a farmer?
Okay, currently we know that there's not even many fields as such in many places where it is just open field. Probably it's somebody's land that you are maybe buying or you're getting, or your own land. If it is your own land, take care of it, because it is a produce that you're producing, just as you're producing maize or beans. Even grass is a produce, by the way, which can be marketed. In times like this when there is famine, it may be even more, have more value than maize or something. So it is also an economic venture to grow the animal feed. So you take care of that. And we have agriculturists who can be able to tell you, if you just go to the offices, is this soil good? Because sometimes, again, when you're producing grass, the production per unit area may be low because of some of the soil factors. Number two, some of the things you can see. if there are weeds that are growing, and many farmers will tell you this weed is poisonous, this weed is poisonous, then you will not cut, and even if you cut, I don't know whether it will be easy to first maybe uproot what is poisonous, and sometimes it is done.
Yes.
You uproot what is poisonous, what is not grass, and then you can be able to cut your grass. So you look at what are the poisonous plants that are growing there. Again, you'll see, if it is an area that is grazed by very many people, it's a communal grazing area, again, you know the risk of diseases is there. So you have to take consideration to that. If it is a place that is, let's say, near a road, you know there is likely contamination with the fumes from the passing vehicles. So again, you have to put that into consideration. And actually, the law of Kenya prohibits roadside grazing, for that being one, and also the fact that animals will graze and others which are passing by will pass by. So again, you are able to spread animal diseases. So that is not feed safety, but it's also, we are looking at animal health in totality. So you have to put all these things into consideration.
All right, thank you for that. Now let's move on and look at how does animal feed safety affect animal health, human health, and even trade when you want to maybe do trade with others. How does this affect these particular aspects, the human health, animal health, and trade?
Like it is usually said, you are what you eat. So the animal is what it eats. And what it eats is what it produces, if it is that milk. So if the animal is not eating good quality or safe food, there's a likelihood of it's being sick. There's a likelihood of it's not growing and getting to its full potential of production. If it is a producing animal, a milk producing, a meat producing animal, it may not achieve its full potential. Also, what it is, if you give unsafe feed, it will produce unsafe milk. The human being will take that unsafe milk, and you're likely to be, now it impacts on human health. To you ask about trade. If that product is not safe, then you cannot sell it. If we know that the produce from Kevo's home, the milk always smells of onions because he fed the cattle with onions, nobody will buy that milk. So you lose. You lose that. If you are feeding it and it is sick and it's producing less milk, you lose because it has not achieved its full potential. You feed animal, we feed chicken with maybe unsafe. They reduce egg production. So you lose. So your economic venture as a farmer doesn't achieve what you are supposed to do. And when we are trading also, even if it is locally and internationally, if people know that your milk, your eggs are not safe because you are feeding poor feed, you are feeding maize with aflatoxin, so nobody will buy our milk because they'll say our milk is likely to be contaminated because the feed is contaminated. So animal health itself, because the animal is feeding and it's what it eats. Human health, because we are eating that product. And trade, because that product is what we are trading in. Or the animal itself is what we are trading in. Yeah, and we know, like for example, you remember a while back, there was an outbreak of what we are calling mad cow disease in the Europes. And this came because the animals were fed with the products from animals which would have that disease. So the animals and the disease, the mad cow disease, somehow affected human beings who ate that product. So it's affecting the animals, it's affecting human beings, and they had to kill all the animals. All the animals. So you can imagine the loss of killing tens of thousands of animals. So that is why it is, and even here we know locally, we have had all chicken are dying because of feed or such. So the safety of feed is critical to human life, animal life, and trade. And of course the environment. If those animals are dying, they are going to the environment. What is the kind of contamination that they may cause? Yeah, so it's affecting all those spheres of life.
Okay, still on this case, now let's look at when there is lack of animal feed. what usually happens? Because I remember that almost last year we went to a farmer. I was able to visit a farmer who was incinerating his chicks because there was no enough feed to just feed the whole poultry that he had. So he had to incinerate the chicks when he incinerates them so that they don't increase the population. So what happens when there is lack of feeds? What can farmers do on the other side to enable just cover for the feed?
Okay, that's the whole of looking at farming as a business. And planning is key. And forward planning and seeing into the future is key. So do you have enough feed or prospects of getting enough feed to feed your animals? Because you'd rather not keep the animals than keep them and then kill them. Or you'd rather keep a small population that you're able to feed.
Yes.
Of course, we know the impact of that usually is if the cost becomes very high, then the cost of the product, and that is why now we are saying, oh, eggs are 16 shillings, because the cost of feed is high. So we have to look at all these things and the impact on human health also, because we are not getting enough eggs, maybe you're not getting enough milk because of the feed. So the farmer, one, plan. Do you have, if I'm keeping 200 chicken, will I be able to sustain these until the end at a cost-effective level? If not, maybe let me not keep the chicken now and keep it at another time. And maybe, do a proper study, visibility market study. Where will I source for my feed at good cost to feed the duration of the life of this animal? If I'm not, then if I had 200, and if I can economically keep 50, then I keep 50. If not, then I would rather then you don't keep and keep animals. Either you're not feeding them well because that is an animal welfare issue, you're feeding them little food to feed. So you look at all these factors when you are thinking of you are doing a venture. Of course, sometimes it may come in the middle. Like we know when we got Corona, that was something that came suddenly. So some decisions have to be made to either reduce the populations or get alternatives, maybe cheaper if you can be able to get. And of course, we also know the Russia-Ukraine war affected also a lot.
Yes.
So these are the things that may not be anticipated, but when they come, you have to look, do I reduce the numbers? But again, incinerating, that's an animal welfare. You are killing this little chicken, but there are sometimes decisions that are made that are very difficult, but planning, other than now those disasters, planning is key. That you're able to feed your animals until market, or until as long as you want to keep it and feed them well. So you know where you source, you know the quality of where you source, and you know the cost is going to be okay.
All right, we are going for a short break. We'll be right back with more. Don't go too far.